Good morning once again, and thank you for staying tuned to Sunrise at Sea right here on CTV. It's always a pleasure to wake up to you every morning, and I hope that you're having a wonderful start to your day. Today is Women's Day, and we continue the conversation in our Twitter Jabs 2 segment. And what we were talking about in the Twitter Jabs 1 is the International Women's Day. And the International Women's Day 2022 is also running a campaign theme that is hashtag Break the Bias. And it is a gender equal world. We are asking for a gender equal world, free of bias, stereotypes, and discrimination. A world that is divisive, equitable, inclusive, and where difference is valued and celebrated. Well, also statistics did show that about 90% of men and women do have biases against women. So it's a little ironic that some women still have biases against women. And that is what makes this year's theme very, very important. Well, in studio with me are two phenomenal ladies that have made a great impact in the world and in Uganda at large. And from my far left is Honorable Joyce Bagala. She is a Ugandan journalist and politician, and she's currently the elected women's representative of Mityana district under the National Unity Platform. Good morning.
Good morning, Sarah, and good morning everyone who's watching.
Thank you for joining me today on the show.
You're welcome.
And in the center is is Dr. Patricia Litho. She's a lecturer and head of communication and information at the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development. Thank you so much, Dr. Patricia, for joining me.
Good morning, viewers. Happy to be here.
All right, so let's get right into it. This year, International Women's Day, the theme is Break the Bias. And my first question would be, do you feel Women's Day and its, what do you feel about Women's Day and its impact on women around the world?
Well, thank you, Sarah, and happy Women's Day to you.
Happy Women's Day to you
all
too.
The women who are watching.
Yes.
And International Women's Day was introduced for good reasons,
yes,
for good values, for the impact of women in the world.
Yes.
And celebrating it in Uganda is a little bit different, especially now. In the times when I was not yet a woman, and when I was a young girl, I used to observe the celebrations.
Yes.
Were really impactful. People were happy to celebrate Women's Day. Right now, I don't think so.
Okay, how so?
If you went to the national celebrations,
yes,
you would think this is about the NRM women or the women in government.
Yes.
Just recently, I think about 3-4 days back, there was a function organized for women. And they invited all the women.
Yes.
And the Uganda Women Parliamentarians Association, they invited women parliamentarians, they invited women ministers. And I looked at the program. When I looked at the program, all the people who were speaking were only people in government.
Yes.
The minister of this, the minister of that, the minister of this, only people in government. But remember, women are across the divide, the political divide.
Absolutely.
The women in the government and women on the opposition, where I fall. So when you ask the feeling of celebration of women at the moment, first of all, politically, I think it still has the bias.
Yes.
It still has the bias. Number two, if you go...
You said it still has the bias. What do you mean by it still has
politically,
the bias?
when I tell you that most of the people who are celebrating, when you go to a function and most of the people who are allowed to express themselves, because look, we have views, we have opinions.
Yes.
So we should be allowed as women who think differently politically to also express ourselves,
yes,
to also address fellow women. That doesn't happen. Number two, if you look at the women, of course, there are different levels.
Yes.
While I am a politician, while I am a journalist, there are women farmers.
Yes.
Are we thinking about them?
Yes.
Are they part of the celebration? There are women vendors. While they're being sent off the streets, we, the women leaders, are we thinking about those women? Are we thinking of what is going to happen to them? So we celebrate Women's Day because of our emotions, our hormones, our womanness, our gender, and we love the fact that we are women.
Yes.
But are we thinking about other women? Or are we
thinking about ourselves?
Exactly.
Yes.
So we really would like to celebrate Women's Day, but we would like to celebrate it differently.
Yes.
We would like it to be all-inclusive. We want to think about the journalists, but we also want to think about the women who are working the stone quarries.
Yes.
We want to celebrate Women's Day, but it should be about women. I still think about the times of the women movement where we had the women like the Beanyimas, the Matembes, the Kadagas. Of those days, it was so different. You would feel even their vibe, how you call it these days, the vibe. You would feel it. You would feel that they want other women, they love other women, they support other women, they encourage other women, they mentor other women. Right now, I don't see that. But yes, we are celebrating because we are women. We love the fact that we are women. Yes. With all our weaknesses, with all our strength, we love the fact that we are women. And we have done so much. We work so hard. But in celebrating, are we thinking about all women?
Yes.
Yeah, there's a gap there. There's a challenge there.
All right. What about you, Dr. Patricia? How do you feel about Women's Day and its impact on celebrating women? Do you share the same sentiments? Do you think that we are divided, are not being inclusive of each other? Do you think that we are now making it just about the individual as opposed to the woman?
Actually, it's not about the individual. It's not about the individual. It's about different classes of women.
Yes.
But it's also about manipulation by certain men.
Yes.
Yes, I agree with certain aspects, especially the aspect of appreciating diversity.
Yes.
As part of Uganda Media Men's Association, where I'm board chair, you find that we try to look at diversity. And Honorable is right in saying that many times we push for issues, but in reality, it's about the association, those of us in the board. As a media person, we seek, for instance, we say we speak for the voiceless, a voice for the voiceless.
Yes.
But to what extent do we represent the voiceless? Like I said, there's diversity. So in breaking the bias, what diversity do we show? Is it always about those in power, those who have spaces, or do we want to see the different voices, the different representations? So like she said, Women's Day used to be very exciting. I remember as a young girl, my mother was a woman counselor, and it was this big thing, and it was exciting. That excitement is not there right now. I think part of it is the backlash, but also, in terms of progression, we're very reactionary. So maybe people have sort of lost interest.
Yes.
Because many times we see us drumming up things like this week, maybe from Friday last week, this week, oh, we're all women, 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 and then it disappears. But what are those causes? What are those issues that actually concern women? But also, for me personally, I find it counterproductive to isolate women and try to change them, and then try to put them back in this environment where the men think exactly the same way. And for me, it's a point of conflict.
Yes.
Women do not live in Ireland, and our issues are relational.
Yes.
How do women and men relate? And I think there's need to bring men on board and explain to them the difference it makes when a woman is empowered, especially economic empowerment. I think it does make a difference. But as it is, we still want to look at it the good old traditional feminist way, but it is a relational issue. And I can just imagine myself being moved away, let's say, from a marital environment and being told different things.
Yes.
Remember when I was getting married, the singers who was telling
Yes.
me, oh, do this for your man, and then I just turn up one day, I'm like, no, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing this for you. This is a source of conflict, and I think us as women in leadership, we cause this because of the way we preach to the other women and they're looking up to us.
Yes.
So I think we need to bring men on board to appreciate that it's about social justice, really.
Yes.
It's about fairness, it's about equity. Of course, a woman and man cannot be equal, but are they treated fairly? Are they treated differently because they're born women or men? Those kind of opportunities, I think, are the things we should be pushing for. And like Honorable said, can we move away from the usual
Yes.
The usual women that we know and hear, the same one speaking. Can we show the diversity? Can we embrace diversity?
Yes.
Can we show women that at the different levels,
Yes.
you can actually achieve equity, you can achieve some sort of economic, political, social empowerment? Because even men, not all of them at a leadership level.
Absolutely.
And so those kind of things need to be embraced. So yes, the steam has gone down, especially the younger women. They don't see what the excitement
Yes.
is about. And we need to be able to explain what are we really concerned about.
Exactly.
And you see, if you're born today, you might be thinking, wait a minute, what are you even complaining
What exactly?
about?
Yes, I don't see these struggles you're talking
Yes,
about.
yes. So there's need to show that journey, but I need to show that, okay, now we're at this level and we need to approach it differently, not
Yes.
the good old way.
All right. So my next question goes to you, Honorable Joyce. You did say that there's a lot of division and discrimination amongst the women and whatnot. So you're a lady in a political position. You do hold a lot of political power. So how are you helping the ladies in your constituency and Uganda as a whole? Because I don't think your role or your duties just stop to the ladies that you represent in Mityana.
Yeah.
How are you helping and how are you using your power?
Incidentally, you're only talking about me as a member of parliament.
Yes.
You haven't talked about me as a journalist.
Yes.
I have a longer journey as a journalist than actually as an MP.
Yes.
I've only been an MP for about 8 months.
Yes.
But I was in journalism for more than 10 years.
Okay.
And I mentored. I am so proud of the fact that I mentored many female journalists.
Yes.
And as we talk, I'm glad you asked that question. I am going to Mityana. I am going to be talking to girl students of St. Elizabeth Secondary School. The school is owned by our former woman member of parliament,
Yes.
Honorable Sylvia Namabide.
Yes.
And that's what I want us to think about. She used to be the woman member of parliament, the position that I'm holding right now.
Yes.
It speaks to mentorship. It speaks to a woman loving another woman. It speaks to a woman supporting another woman.
Yes.
It speaks to a woman encouraging another woman.
Absolutely.
From her to me, from me to the students. So that way, these students will grow up as young women and then women understanding the issues that we need to understand as women and the issues that have changed. Like Patricia was saying, that the women of before are not the women of now. Their issues are different from our issues.
Absolutely.
If the issues were about cooking, the issue right now is how a man is going to cope with an empowered woman. And we need to understand those issues. So at the end of the day, how am I
Yes.
using my power?
Yes.
I've used my power even before I became a member of parliament.
Yes.
As a member of parliament, I am very outspoken when it comes to issues to do with women. But I told you, the challenge that we have, even when you think you have power, you have very little of it. At the end of the day, the men still have more power than we do. And what she was saying about getting equal opportunities to express ourselves, to enjoy these opportunities, to enjoy this space and utilize the space, it is very limited.
Yes.
Even as we speak. I come out of the house, I am going to the parliament, I am going to speak, but at the end of the day, there are other women who are being used by men, selfishly, by the way. It's not because the women are bad. It is because the men are afraid. And by the way, I think the most important thing
Yes.
to do is to make sure that the men get used to women. The men get used to powerful women, that men cope with empowered women. Do you know why most of the time you see that women will only be implementing decisions by men?
Okay.
And we don't see it easily. But at the end of the day, even female ministers, they're implementing decisions
Yes.
of men.
All right.
Yeah, being in
Honorable.
positions but not having the power
All right.
to make the decisions.
But before I let you answer this next question,
yes.
who is preparing these men for these empowered women you speak of? But before you answer that question, I'd like us to connect straight and direct to Dr. Miria Matembe. She's on standby, and she's a Uganda former member of the Pan-African Parliament and was the chairperson of the Committee of Rules, Privileges and Discipline, and she's also an activist.
Yeah.
Good morning, Doctor. Hello?
To you, colleagues, how are you? Happy Women's Day.
Happy Women's Day to you too.
Thank you.
I'm glad that you could honor our invitation. It's an honor and a privilege to meet you today.
Yes, as you know, the passion I have for gender equality and women's empowerment, which
Yes.
springs from my childhood dream as a girl, rural girl reared in the village, completely discriminated against, oppressed and exploited. And therefore, you know, when it comes to the gender question,
Yes.
I can never let you down.
Absolutely.
Because although I have already realized my childhood dream which was to one day get a platform where I would stand up and shout loud and call women and girls and tell them, look here, we are cheated, we are suffering, come, let us resist. So one day, I got this platform. What haven't I done and what haven't I said? What haven't I seen in this country? So I give God glory that I was able to realize this dream. But I want to tell everybody listening to me that the issue of gender equality and women's empowerment is a journey which is to the benefit of both men and women, of the nations and families, and a journey which must be walked by both men and women together, helping one another, because without realizing gender equality and women's empowerment, we can never realize the development and well-being for our nations, our families, and our communities. And I want people listening to me that, of course, I listened to an honorable member saying that the issues which we are fighting then are different from the now issues. I want to agree with her to a big extent, because once you start a journey and start walking it, I mean, you reach different terrains, you reach different, at times you go through a valley, at times on a hill, but at times you find the same, you know, thorns and trees and similar to those which you have passed already, which you also need to face. And so for me, before I go any further, I want to tell everybody listening to me that for me, the issue of gender equality and women's empowerment is not about power to men, power to women. It is simplified in this way. A woman is a human being as much as a man is a human being. And therefore, she needs to be treated and perceived as a human being in her own right. Not appendage to anybody, not supplementary to anybody, but as a human being in her own right. Therefore, being a human being in her own right is entitled to every opportunity and every right that any other human being is entitled to. And at the same time, he is exposed or subjected some roles which human beings play. And so, as simple as that, when we are saying gender equality and women's empowerment, we are not saying a woman should be equal to a man. I am a woman, a very powerful human being. Let me tell you, I've never desired to be a man. Because if I'm a special creation of God, moreover created as the last human being on the earth, as the guest of honor, and you need to dissect it, to dissect all these issues. God never rested from creation until creating a woman. When he had created a woman and he saw that everything was good, that his work of creation was perfect, God rested because the guest of honor had come on this earth, and therefore he delegated her the responsibility for procreating human beings and taking care of them. Women are great people before God, and they must be treated as such.
Yes. All right, thank you so much, Doctor. So I'd like to ask you the next question. In your view, do you believe that women in Uganda have enough representation in all sectors and spheres of life, in the workforce, in politics, in health, in education? Do you think we have enough representation? And do you honestly believe that women are actually making these independent decisions for women? Because Honorable Joyce did say or allege that sometimes women are making decisions or implementing decisions on behalf of the men who are manipulating and using women as a tool to still suppress us and oppress us. What is your view on that, Doctor?
I'm not going to answer a question just for the sake of it.
Yes.
I want you to put everything within the context.
Yes, Doctor.
And I want to tell you that before 1986, before the NRM government came to power, the public space was entirely closed
Yes.
to women. This is not to say that women were not struggling. Women in Uganda started struggling for the public space, for their rights, also during the time of independence. But you know, once the women struggle, and then because they are few, because their voice is very low, once these men, when independence was received, it appeared as if women never participated. And you will ask women like Honorable Mpanga, Honorable Karema, Honorable, some women who have died and passed on, who started the struggle to get on this journey, to be able to break through the barriers that prevent us from entering all these spaces which you are talking about. And therefore, during Amin's time, Obote's time, the space was completely closed. Although those women were struggling, the political environment was not good. But when NRM came to power, that is the National Resistance Movement, not the party, I must emphasize, the National Resistance Movement, which we all served, which we embraced. It came with the woman question high up on the agenda, and we women in this country took advantage of the space and started running with this, on this journey. And therefore the journey, we can effectively say, started like 1986, and therefore it is shortly 40 years, less than 40 years. You cannot have broken through all the barriers to reach everywhere, but I can assure you, the breakthrough have been great, very, very great. That you are even here on the platform discussing women, where women any subject of discussion, where women ever in the space, where women could be seen anywhere, could they be heard? I remember when we established Action for Development, sometime with the motto breaking through, building up and binding, we wanted to break through all the barriers that were constraining us from being human beings, and wanted to build all the values, all the systems, all the policies that would build us up and make us also full human beings in our own right, and to bind ourselves in love and solidarity for the development of this nation. And we achieved a lot. I remember one time we wrote a book saying, Visible at Last.
Yes.
And then when Mama FM came, we said, Audible at Last. And then when Ford came on board, I remember we wrote a book entitled The Rising Tide. And of course we had rose up, and when I launched that book, I said we are now waiting for the roaring wave. Unfortunately, the tide never rolled, because it was cut down in the middle of the ocean, because the political environment again became unconducive for running with this journey. And so we have broken through.
Yes.
We are there, but not yet influential. We are not yet effective enough to influence the governance agenda and make it responsive for our interests, concerns, and advantages.
Absolutely.
Challenges are still there, especially the political environment, which has now become violent, has become prohibitive, has become patronizing, has become militaristic, and so we are sort of shut up again.
Yes.
We are not running like we ran with Akford, like we ran with UNET, like we run with Ford, like we run with FIDA. Where are our civic space now? It is closed down. It is getting shut down. It's quite unfortunate, but this is not to say that we have not broken through. We shall continue to break through. The question which the Member of Parliament rose, which I agree with, about the men who are feeling unempowered. Nobody is disempowering men. Men grew up and they grow up to know that they are men. When you ask, I'm a man. And some of them are just men in trousers and nothing manhood about them these days. And me, you know, I call a spade a spade.
Yes.
And so, because they say they are men, they don't even know what makes men, but because naturally they are men, nobody has ever disempowered women.
Yes.
Men, I don't know of any policy, of any system, of anything that discriminates against men or disadvantages against men.
Yes.
But they were oppressing and manipulating and disadvantaging women. And so when women started coming up, instead of men realizing that, look here, these are our colleagues, now they shy off, they think that we are taking their places. Nobody's taking the place of a man. Nobody. We rose up, take up our own places, and want to exist side by side with one another. And therefore, for me, the challenge I tell, in fact, the parents are responsible to really ensure that they rear their sons in such a way that they are like Matembe's sons. I can assure you, my sons,
Yes.
they are together with their wives and they know they are equal human beings. They help one another. They work together. They don't see anybody empowered than the other. They see empowerment for the benefit of one another.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Dr. Miria Matembe. And because of you and women like you, you paved the way for us, for me to even be sitting here right now. So I would like to ask you, as young women, where can we improve? How can we carry on this fight? Because it's starting to feel like as if it is now starting to water down. We are now starting to be intimidated and being pushed in the corner. What are your recommendations? Where can we improve?
Actually, I personally have been disappointed with young women. They have to excuse me. Of course, I have mentored so many, and I continue to mentor. I have role modeled so many, and those who have followed me really, I am happy to see that they enjoy their lives because they understand the whole question. What is it about? Is it about a man replacing a woman? Is it about a woman replacing a man? Or it is about existing side by side?
Yes.
The moment you understand that, then things go well. My disappointment with the young women, in fact, of below 40 years, when we had fought, we had reached a stage where we say, yeah, a man and a woman, they exist side by side with one another, and not just expect that if a young man, I date a young man who is also struggling to, is depending on his parents, for instance, when he takes you out as a girl, then you say, I need this, I need this, I need that. That's what disappointed me with young women. Let me tell you, for me, when I was growing up, I made up my mind, first of all, that I will not marry a man who is not educated, because we have to talk, we have to argue and that kind of thing. Then I made up my mind that I will not marry a man who already has a vehicle, who already has a house, who already has everything, because he'll be saying, my vehicle, my house, my property, my what. I said, no, I will marry a young man who will be like me, and we shall start together and make our life together. And that I was 20 years. I married actually at 21 years. But you know, the girls these days, we thought we would empower them so much that they will also stand our ground and stand with us. But then for them, when they grew up, they started seeing men as their providers. They would tell me now, if he didn't have money, why did he marry me? Then I would say, what about you? Why did you marry him? If you have money, can't you marry a man also who doesn't have enough money and you live together? and help one another. So let me tell you, young women, you must rise up and understand the whole struggle. What is it about? And it is not about looking to man for provision for everything. Some of the women they lower themselves.
Yes.
And let me tell you, I don't want to be misunderstood. I love marriage. I love a family, because I know a family is the foundation of a sound society, and families must be stable and sound. But a woman should not run after marriage as if that is all there is. I remember when I went to Makerere, when I had just started my struggle, I told the girls, please, first your education, don't focus at marriage, don't focus at boyfriends, just focus at your education and you get a job and marriage later. And the boys shouted at me, you are spoiling society. I said, if you want to marry, what are you doing at the university? Go and marry. What are you doing here?
Yes.
So for me, I want people to, I want a girl and a boy to look at life from a similar perspective when it comes to their rights, to their responsibilities, and that kind of thing. So you can say a man who is not rich, and you get him and you are doing better. I mean, when I married my husband, he was doing better working in Uganda breweries. But when I raised up and became a member of parliament, became a minister, I started earning more than he was earning. Now, did we divorce? Did we fight? If he needs a suit, I buy it. If I have to buy chairs, I buy them. He buys what he buys. I mean, we are together, working together, supporting one another for our family and for our children. So you young women, you have also run away with this Simanyi feminism from abroad. For me, I made sure when I got onto the public scene, because it was very, very controversial, and I was very, very controversial, and I was very unstoppable. I made sure I did not call myself a feminist, because feminism was perceived as a wrong thing from Europe and everywhere. I called myself a self-styled advocate for women's rights.
Yes.
And so I looked basically at our rights, and I didn't look at responsibilities. For instance, honorable members of parliament who are out there. Now, when they are in parliament and they come late, certainly those husbands have got to do what the work which they never did. So I don't go to fight, you man, you make a bed, you man feed the baby. No. But if I get a right and to work, doing a work which brings me a little bit later, then this man will also do what he usually did not do. Except that problem is now disturbing. That's why I had actually established the Center for Women in Governance, because I thought the shift of power between men and women was going to cause a problem. Because in a situation where men were used to coming late and find everything at home ready, now that the women are in public life and they are the one, the minister, the member of parliament, the permanent secretary coming late and finding a man at home, that is shift in power relations. And it needs to be understood and be sorted out. And again, shift in power relationship in terms of finances. That also needs to be understood and be worked out. And that's why I had thought the Center for Women in Governance would bring together men and women and discuss these issues of shifting in power relations and see how it can be incorporated within the family, that still a society continues to be stable. Yes. And that is what is lacking now. Yes. And I wish we could have a center for gender sensitization and we used to carry out gender awareness and gender sensitization to bring men and women together to explain to them these issues. Because a man needs to understand that now that your wife has reached here and it is for the benefit of the home, you also tone down and support her so that you two could work together. Absolutely. I had thought that we would have like seminars and workshops where men like the Matembes could be brought into a meeting to address those members of, those husbands of members of parliament, to share with them as to how they coped.
All right.
These things are necessary, but Bambe, we don't see how we get people to be trained and informed, to be able to get in properly.
All
That's
right.
the problem. Lack of education, lack of conscientization, lack of knowledge is the one causing disturbance. Otherwise, we would be moving well.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Miria Matembe. Well, I'm in studio with Honorable Joyce Bagala and Dr. Patricia Litho, and they would actually have some questions to ask you. I'll go first with Dr. Patricia.
I thought I'd finished.
Dr. Matembe, it's always a pleasure to hear you speak, read your works. I just have one issue that it would be amazing to hear from you. A recent study that has been done by Uganda Media Women's Association actually reveals that the disappointment generally in women members of parliament, with all due respect, when they are held accountable for the bills that have really related to women, they always say, I am a woman representing District X and I'm not accountable to women, which is quite disappointing. Because what people like you promoted are those numbers. And now that we've gotten those numbers on affirmative action, we don't care about women. I would just like to hear a comment from you on that aspect.
You see, the problem which I have been facing, and I even tried to get to Parliament to ask them to give me an opportunity to really share with these women members of Parliament. It is so many years since we established affirmative action. And therefore, the women who kept coming on board now do not appreciate or understand the reason why affirmative action was established. And these seats now are being looked at as job encashment, where there is this district seat where I can also go and get into Parliament. And I don't blame them, because it's quite some time ago. And yet when they get there, nobody has really sat with them to tell them the role and the importance of that affirmative action. Because the seat for affirmative action was established against a background from the bush people. Those people who were in the bush, they were fighting side by side with the men. And they were able to see, the men were able to say, wait a minute, these women are doing quite a lot of work. They are working as hard as us, and they are doing good, at times even better than men in certain areas. And yet, they don't have a voice. Nobody talks for them. If there is time, I can give you an example. There was one example which actually brought into action the affirmative action. I understand that when the Bush people had managed to smuggle some little money, they sat as in high command and started discussing to allocate that money to essentials that they needed quickly. And Omchara Honorable Njuba was a personal assistant to President Museveni, by then the head of the Bush War. And they sat, she used to sit in the meeting of the high command as his assistant, but not as a member to speak. And then when they had allocated all the money and went to go and spend it, Mrs. Njuba told the Museveni that, what about, you could have got some little money for us, for our sanitary towels. And I understand the president said, oh my goodness, you women, what have you been doing all along? You must have suffered. You see? So from that day, they came to understand that there are certain issues affecting women which only women know about, which they can only articulate on. And so they said, let us establish a seat for women on these governing bodies so that they can always tell us what concerns them which we don't know. You see, that was the origin. So when they reached here, they came with this seat and we embraced it. And eventually when we came to Parliament, we said now, affirmative action should be to achieve two things. One, that women are also as important as men when it comes to the management of their nation.
Yes.
And therefore, they should also be heard. But since the cultures and customs and barriers prevent them from going to Parliament and to the Council, let us create a special seat so that it will bring women into Parliament, so that, because when the other barriers will stop them from going on the main constituency. If some of them come through the main constituency, well and good. But we know they won't, because there are many barriers. But at least each district to bring a woman who will be in Parliament. One reason, because they also have brains to contribute to the management of this nation, because they are also affected by issues in this nation, because they must also participate in decisions that affect them and their nation. Secondly, because the women know more about themselves, they will be the ones to articulate, to bring those issues which affect them as women, which we don't know, to the platform here, so that we may discuss them and work on them. Absolutely. So those are the two reasons that women also are entitled, should come to Parliament. Secondly, like they say, the one who wears a shoe knows where it pinches most. Since they are women, they will know those things which concern them. When you are talking about infant mortality, maternal mortality, pregnancies, who can know about them except women who go through them?
Yes.
And therefore, we came in not just to speak about women issues, but to represent woman, the womanhood, because two legs are better than one. And secondly, to make sure that issues that concern women must be articulated and presented, so that all the both men and women could talk about them and come out with a decision. Therefore, when a woman comes through the constituency, or whether through the district, they are coming in as the other part. As the other part. A man sees the world from a different perspective. A woman sees the world from a different perspective. And the two perspectives together make a whole.
Yes. Absolutely.
So they should, but now they just come in as job seekers. Because this seat actually is supposed to attract somebody who is so passionate about gender issues. Those others who are not so passionate about gender issues actually should go on the main constituency, because this district seat is really, are you passionate on the gender issues? Because you are coming in case gender issues are not talked about, that you become the mouth for them. So I don't know what that research is talking about, because to me that is nonsense. Whether I'm on the mainstream constituency, whether I'm on the woman seat, really, this is an opportunity for me to represent the woman folk as well as the whole nation.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Miria Matembe. Well, before I let you go, I just have one more question coming in from Honorable Joyce Bagala. Yes.
I'm not going to ask Dr. Miria Matembe, but mine is just to appreciate her.
Yes.
She's such a role model. She's someone that I look up to, and you know, the way she mentors is very general, not just in politics, but in everything. 2 weeks back when we met at, we had the Women's League retreat for the NUP, she came and talked to us. So I met her, and she saw that I had put on weight. So she will even talk to you about wellness. And she gave me advice, which I'm going to take. Yeah, but I would like to thank her for even putting her knowledge in books. Woman in the Eyes of God, Reclaiming Lost Identity. There's another one, Gender Politics and Constitution, Constitution Making. There's one that I just bought on that day, The Struggle for Freedom and Democracy, Betrayed. This is very good for us as women who want to be like them, or probably even do better. For her to put all that knowledge in these books and to giving us the opportunity to read them and share that knowledge, I think is very important. So for me, it's just appreciation for her, because I follow her, I relate with her, and I just want to appreciate that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Well, unfortunately,
thank you so much, my love. Thank you so much.
Anytime.
There is even another book which says Political Evangelism, the Beauty of Conversing with God. And I want to tell the listeners, you people listening to me, it's not all about me really. It's my God.
Yes.
It's my God who gave me this childhood dream and gave me the passion and gave me the purpose to get out and speak loud for the womanhood.
Yes.
And so I thank God, and I want to tell all the ladies listening to me that actually we should be able to find God's purpose for our lives, because each of us were created for a purpose. Each of us were, you know, the word of God is it in John 16:15 says, I chose you and appointed you that you may bear fruits that will last.
Yes.
The moment you get to know why God chose you and appointed you, and you need to know which fruit, because you see, a mango can only produce mangoes, orange can produce orange, fene will produce fene. The moment you know which fruit you are appointed to produce, then you not get involved in competitions with this one is producing better mangoes, because for you, you will be a banana matoke perhaps. So those are some of the tricks that make me move on and fight for almost all women. And Madam Bagala, thank you very much for for taking that advice. We shall be meeting there and bring more women, please. Thank you.
All right.
I love you all. I love you
too.
all for
We
this
love you
Women's
too.
Day. You know, we struggled to get this Women's Day as a public holiday under our Honorable Minister Bambe Gertrude, Honorable the late Bambe, God rest her heart in peace, her soul in peace. But we managed to get this day. We said if we continue saying Women's Day when it is not a public holiday and all these men go to work, when will they know that actually
Yes.
women are there? And we wanted that in the whole year, let the country stop and say today is Women's Day.
Yes.
And then they will discuss why Women's Day, and that could also advance us further.
All right.
I'm so happy that you people are taking the mantle. We shall pray that you continue running with the mantle. Never mind valleys, hills, or what. It is a journey of life. We shall continue to journey it until we reach where we reach.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Dr. Miria Matembe. Thank you for your time, and thank you for gracing us on the show today. We will definitely make you proud. We will not drop the baton because of your wise words.
Thank
because
you.
of you, we are here, and we intend to continue moving forward. Thank you so much for joining us today.
So go and enjoy the meals those men are making for you today.
We will. Thank you so much, Dr. Miria Matembe.
You're welcome.
All right. So, ladies, let's continue the conversation. Dr. Miria Matembe has said a lot of profound things. And one thing that did stand out to me is that she does agree that with you, especially Honorable Joyce Bagala, that we have now somehow, you know, dropped the baton and we are watering it down. We are now, you know, bringing in different thoughts and theories into this whole situation of celebrating women and our achievements and moving forward, and somehow backsliding. Dr. Miria Matembe said now women want men to do everything for them. Women are letting men manipulate them. Where do you think we fell off? Is it our upbringing? Is it that there are some people within the fight or the movement who did not really, you know, listen and understand the assignment? What do you think it is?
No, of course, that's something that I was talking about before she came in.
Yes.
And I think she gave very good insights
Yes.
about how this women thing is going, the movement. And I would like to say we are backsliding, again, because people do not understand what it is about women and how to work with us.
Yes.
And how to coexist with women. We have no problem. It's not actually a contest. So the men, even in leadership, even those who are not in leadership, because when you talk about, or there are men even at home, not in leadership, but they think it's a contest for a woman to dress in a certain way. At home, now we are not in politics.
Yes.
We are at home, and probably they are both farmers.
Yes.
And the man thinks it is a contest for the woman to go and dig, they sell, and he thinks he should be the one to get the money, to account for the money, to divide the money,
Yes.
to share the money. And that's still unfair.
Yes.
So we need to impart more knowledge in everyone, in our children,
Yes.
in the men that we work with,
Yes.
in the men that we relate with, that this is not a contest.
Yes.
It is merely coexisting and recognizing the fact that we are both human beings, and that women need to be respected the same way men are respected, and women need to get access to the same opportunities that
Yes.
men get access to,
Yes.
and to understand that we have similar brains that can actually conceptualize things that they can
Yes.
work on. I think that is the only issue. And our only backsliding, I think, is in the energy. When the Miria Matembes were on the scene, they had a lot of energy, they
Yes.
had a lot of commitment. You see the thing that she keeps talking about? She says, you people, God gave me this big mouth and I've used it. So when I
Yes.
go to heaven, God will ask me what I've used the big mouth for, and I'll say I've talked. And indeed, the woman has talked.
Yes.
Everyone will give it to her. Every woman will give it to Matembe. Every man will give it to Matembe, that she has talked.
Yes.
So I think what we need to do as the other women is to also use what we have to speak.
Yes.
To speak to other women, to speak to men, to speak to everyone, to understand what a woman is and why a woman needs to be empowered.
Yes.
But not the competition. And I really, really agree with her on the issue of young women wanting financial assistance, wanting only to get from men,
Yes.
and them not sharing. And I remember at some point, I think in the newsroom, we had a huge argument about what I felt about that and what my colleagues thought about that.
Yes.
I am one of those people who feel that I should not be given something because I'm a woman, or you give it to me because you're feeling sorry for me, or I do not like those kinds of things, because I know that I am able,
And capable.
in my womanness,
Yes.
I am capable, I am able to do everything that I do. If I am qualified to do certain things, I am qualified. My qualification should not be me being
A woman.
a woman. But the bottom line is, we should be considered as other human beings, as men. The way we respect men, men should respect women.
Okay.
Yeah, but the issue of the financial issue is very complicated. Very complicated. The poverty levels are very high, and women are more affected by poverty.
True.
Women are more affected by unemployment.
Absolutely.
The COVID situation, you know very well. So many people lost their jobs, but I can tell you, more women lost jobs.
Absolutely.
More women went into a bad situation, worse situations, because it is young girls who became pregnant. And you'll find those women are going to be single mothers. You know that during campaigns and after elections, there's so many people who are jailed. You will say that majority of them are men, but majority of those affected by that action are women. Women who are staying home with children. Women who are staying home in rented houses. Women who are not working. The man is jailed 8 months, 1 year, 2 years down the road. You didn't have a job. You don't know where to start from.
Yes.
So at the end of the day, there's need to understand that women face a lot of challenges,
Yes.
a lot of challenges, even in situations where they're not directly. Because you see, when you imprison a man, you have taken the man. But at the end of the day, the woman is more affected. Her children, herself, and everything.
All right.
Yes.
And I just want to supplement on that. 70% of the 1 billion people in the world living in conditions of poverty, women are highly affected mostly. And in
Certainly.
urban areas, 40% of the poorest households are headed by women. And also women predominate in the world's food production, that is by 50 to 80%, but own less than 10% of the land.
Yeah, that's what I was telling
Imagine
you.
that.
The land is
Yes.
not theirs. You went to marry a man. It is his land. But even the food that you grow there,
Yes.
the man, when you sell that food, when you sell the coffee, when you sell whatever it is, the man will say, bring the money. Share the money.
Yes.
It is still happening.
Yes.
We are doing everything we can, but the speed has somehow, we have slowed down.
Yes.
That's a fact. We have slowed down. If only we had started from where the Miria stopped at that very speed, would be very far.
Exactly. I want to just tap into something that you said before I let Dr. Patricia chime in. You did say that women should not get things just for the fact that they're women. But don't you think equity initiatives in the country, for instance, where girls are being given extra points at, say, in UNEB, in PLE, just because they're being female, don't you think that is just hindering us and, you know, like watering down what it is that we are trying to fight for? And also other things like, say for instance, getting paid maternity leave, because women are paid maternity leaves because they are women. You're not being paid for a service, you're being paid for taking time off, which is, you know, technically not your employer's responsibility. So don't you think these equity initiatives are weighing us down? Should they just be scrapped off because you subscribe
and
for
those
us
two
not
things are
getting
different.
things?
When I say that you don't feel sorry for me, okay, there's a difference.
Isn't that the same thing?
No, it's not. You know, feeling sorry is, well, she's a woman, so she will maybe be at the reception because she's a woman.
Okay.
Yet you can actually do a managerial job, but because you're a woman, someone is thinking they are helping you.
Yes.
They are helping you because you're a woman. Now that is different from including women in accessing opportunities.
Okay.
Those two things are different.
How is that so? Because I think with affirmative action coming into place,
Yes.
that is how the extra points came in for young
Yes,
girls, so that
which
they
is
could
very okay.
encourage them to go into school.
And the numbers, and to grow the numbers.
And to grow the numbers
Exactly.
of girls going
But
to
if
school.
I am with a male person,
Yes.
and we have the same qualifications, and we can hold the same position, and you do not give me that position
Okay.
because I am a woman, and you say you're being kind to me, so you're giving me something softer.
Yes.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
I'm not talking about women accessing similar opportunities. Actually,
yes.
I am saying if I am qualified and the man is qualified, can we get these same opportunities?
Compete at the same
Exactly.
level ground. Yes.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. And in the things that they did before, the affirmative action was very important, because where would we be with an all-male parliament? Because me, who has been in elections before, actually two of them, because in 2016 I competed
Yes.
and I lost.
Yes.
I came back in 2021 and I won.
Yes.
I can tell you, the things that a woman goes through in elections are different from what a man goes through.
Yes.
First of all, when you go to campaign, there are places you go to, and the first question would be, are you married? So how does that relate with me?
Trying to make change in the community.
Exactly. How does my being married or not? So one time, actually, they still remember. There's a place in Mityana called Kachai. People
Yes.
go there to debate. You know, they're my friends. I'm actually a member of Kachai right now. But there's a time that I went there. First time that I went there, they asked me if I was married, and I told them yes, and I have children. They said, "Where's your husband?"
Yes.
I said, "I have come to campaign to become your member of parliament. So why would you want my husband to also come with me? So you want us to leave the children alone and both of us come to the campaign trail? What has my husband got to do with this campaign trail? Do you want me to take your views to parliament, or you want me to take my husband's views?" They all laughed. Since that time, these people became my friends.
Yes.
But I think the knowledge of people to understand certain things, because it's rare, it is so rare that you'll find people asking a man that, "Where is your wife?"
Hey.
It is so rare that they'll ask, "Where is your wife?" in campaigns.
Yeah.
Never. They don't. But you see, we have a challenge that even fellow women, there are women who will go and say, "You see, me, I am married, the other one is not married."
Ooh.
Exactly. I've been in campaigns, and it is wrong. And we need to hold one another. We need to love one another. We need to support one another.
Absolutely.
Let someone defeat you, but not because of gender issues.
Yes.
But because you're married and this one is not married.
Yes.
Because you're beautiful, the other one is not beautiful. That has nothing to do with what you do in parliament. So that's what I was trying to tell you. There's a difference between getting equal opportunities.
Yes.
A difference of you muyambeko anti bakazi.
Bambi.
That's what they can do.
Yeah.
No, Now, that I don't agree with.
Yes. So Dr. Patricia, I saw you got triggered when she was talking about the issue about women in politics being asked about their husbands. What do you think about that conversation and that topic or question that I asked in particular?
Of course, I entirely agree with that. It's rubbish. It is wrong. Because I'm here before you seeking your votes as a person in my own right, thinking that I can contribute to the cause.
Yes.
Because as a politician, the things you want to advance for your community, and for it to be about your marital status, I always find it befitting. I'm not a politician, but in so many circles, it's always about, where's your husband? Does he know you're here? Does he know you're dressed like this? Where are the kids? Who have you left the kids with? But here I am in my own right as a professional person, contributing significantly, and all you're worried about is if I'm married or not.
Yes.
What I look like, you know, how many men I'm sleeping with. For me to be able to do that, it must be someone's money, you know. I drive a four-wheel car, and it's always been, you know, like even when you complain, yes? When you complain to the mechanic, oh, this is so expensive. Hey, what did you think trying to drive a man's car? Really?
Yes.
Yes. And you know, sometimes you hear these obscure stories, you know, like how teachers, like one time I had an argument with a teacher in a very upscale school where my son was marked wrong for putting mommy when they ask who drives at home, and they put mommy and they marked wrong. And I'm like, I bring my son here every day. I am driving him, and how is this a wrong answer? You know, they give us pre-whatever answers. I mean, something so obvious like that.
Yes.
So you see how we are perceived. Even the teacher is training my son wrongly to mark him wrong. The answer should be daddy. Who says? But it's mommy who is driving. So, you know, we have these issues. They seem trivial, but then they get bigger. Because it's not about you in your own right, in your own intellect, in your own capacity. It's all about you, daughter of so-and-so, you, wife of so-and-so, or sister of so-and-so. You can't be a woman in your own right. Yes. You can't be a human being in your own right. And this is what we are talking about the equity. And for me, that's why I always encourage women that try to have your own money. Because to me, it is one of those things that really brings us down. You see, when your welfare is terrible, then you lose control. Even participation in issues become a problem. Like she was saying, we are implementing, as women in leadership, we're implementing decisions made by men. But most times because we are compromised, because we are begging, because men have put us there. So we owe it to the men. And you know, Dr. Matembe was like, it's not really about that. But you see that you fail to speak for women because you think you owe it to the men who voted you. Yes, and even when you're also oppressed and you feel there's some injustice, you know, you have to tread carefully. She's a politician.
Yes,
she knows. You've got to be careful. What do my electorates think? And who are my electorates? As a woman member of parliament, I think the majority are men. So you don't want to step on their toes. So you tread carefully. And people like Dr. Matembe could suffer backlash because despite having been a woman member of parliament, she would still push for women's causes. And many times, like she said, we've misunderstood the whole thing. And we think it's about who holds the power, who wears the trousers, as they say, as opposed to being a person in your own right, participating in decision making, and it all goes back to that mental orientation. Yes, often called conscientization. Like, how conscious are you as a human being? You hear those terrible statements, oh, if he doesn't beat me, he doesn't love me. Like, really? Why do you allow to be battered? You know someone is infringing on your rights, causing unnecessary pain, and oh, no, he's my husband, it is okay, and he's showing love. No. Yes. And for me, those are the issues that we need to understand. It's about equity, and everybody needs to understand these issues. Not just women, but also men need to appreciate these issues. That way, we reduce on the conflict, and there's advancement about these issues. And, you know, refueling, but also appreciating the changes, like she was talking about. And for me, it's always because what the Dr. Matembe's fought for, like the numbers. like the affirmative action, we have that. And that's why there's often that complaint about younger women.
Yes.
Because I've grown under different circumstances, you know, like things are different. What is Patricia even talk about struggling for this? It's not an issue.
Yes.
So our issues are different, but even in those issues, like we're talking about, as a woman alone in a boardroom, as a woman alone in cabinet, yes, do they feel sorry for you as a woman? Do they sexualize things? Do they intimidate you because you're a woman and you don't know what it's about? Or do they treat you as a human being who has owned the right to be at the
there.
table
Yes.
and take those decisions?
This Women's Day, the campaign theme is break the bias. So how do we put an end to these biases and these stereotypes that are holding women back? How do we do that? Any suggestions?
How do we do that? Most of it should be education. We need to educate ourselves as women, but also educate men. She was talking about me being a politician and the things that happen in the boardrooms, in politics and everything. And there's one thing that I remembered. When we're starting, Sarah, you talked about women also being responsible for undermining other women.
Yes.
And this is reality. For all of you who saw the elections, the by-elections for Kayunga LC5, you can understand how women are also undermining fellow women. Harriet Nakwede won that election and everyone saw the DR forms are there. And guess what?
What happened?
Who was in that election? The Prime Minister, who is a woman, giving money. It was on TV, on video, giving money to undermine a fellow
Woman.
And who read the results, the wrong results? It was a woman undermining a fellow
Woman.
to propel a man. Now, those are challenges that we need to address by educating fellow women, by talking to ourselves as women, by understanding that this woman who is less privileged, who is poorer than I am, why am I even putting more money to put her down? It's very important. It's very important. Because at the end of the day, if we are not better ourselves as women, then how will men support us?
Exactly.
So what are we going to do about the biases? We need to work on it, first as women, and then the men, but also in bringing up our children. We need, the Archbishop of the Church of Uganda has always had a concern, especially when it comes to domestic violence. And I share his views. He thinks that women are really prepared from when we are young. You know, when you go to your husband's home, the hygiene, you see you have to be respectful, you have to be submissive, you see you have to be patient, you have to be very hardworking. And who is talking to the men? Who is talking to the young boys? He has serious concerns, and I agree with him. So we need to think about that as well. If we do that, probably we will bring up boys who will be good husbands, who will be good politicians, who will be good leaders, who will treat women equally.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not about you, Dr. Patricia. How do we break the bias?
Like she said, I think awareness creation is the most important thing at all levels. I'm glad she said she's going to speak to girls in a school. For me, those are the foundation levels. Can we talk to children at all levels? You know, you'll undermine the perception of a 4-year-old, but if a 4-year-old is being taught to, a 4-year-old male is being taught to undermine a woman, to undermine his mother because he's a man. There are cultures in Uganda where a boy child, even at 3, is given better respect than his mother. Mommy, sit down. Oh, that's a man. So you grow up thinking like that. So, you know, from a very young age and at all levels, like we say, don't cut men out of the sensitization process.
Yes.
We've done enough of that and we see it's counterproductive. We need to talk to both women and men. And interestingly, where men are supporting the cause, where they appreciate why both women and men should work on the cause, you actually see a significant difference because the conflict is cut out, they give you strategies and things like that, they're part of the cause. And also women, we need to talk to women to appreciate the issues, but the pull her down syndrome we talk about, I'm a woman, I've made it, but we are saying part of the issues of our women is we are not present in places of leadership. There's diversity. We need to appreciate that. So if as a woman you're leading a team that is working against women, it means you're automatically reducing the number of women leaders that we want on board. So, you know, you shouldn't be part of the people bringing down another woman just because of whatever reason. But the bigger goal for equity should always be like, I'm trying to bring up another sister, so that we are more voices, you know. If there's someone articulate and I'm killing her at that level, it means that is it. And like, for me, that concern of how many women we have in parliament now, and it's the usual people speaking, the same 4-5 people speaking, the same 4-5 people speaking. So is it enough?
Yes.
So I'm glad she talked about the WOPA workshop where Honorable Matembe was there, and we're talking to women leaders. Are we prepared? Because sometimes we just jump in. The support is there and things like that. How do we prepare fellow women to be leaders, to be able to debate? I mean, like Matembe in parliament, she was always able to speak. Winnie Byanyima, always able to speak. The Cecilia girls. But then there's some of us who are never able to speak. Are we shy to put up our hand? Do we know how to go? And then the one time you get a point of order, point of this, you know, there's those women who they always get it wrong.
Yes.
So teaching
and then you don't want to talk again.
Yes. That pressure, the booing, and how women we are nurtured.
Yes.
Or you don't want. But a man, whether you boo or not, he will insist, he will do what a lot of women can't do that. So I think this kind of skills and strategies at all levels, I think we need them. We need them. We need the numbers, but we need quality. Exactly. So we must train, we must build our capacity, we must encourage each other.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So before I let you ladies go, any closing remarks or message for our viewer today on International Women's Day?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for inviting us here. I think it is an
coming.
honor to speak on the International Women's Day.
Yes.
To all the viewers out there, we really appreciate your time for watching us, and would like to wish all the women, for me especially, the women in Mityana, very happy International Women's Day. We love you so much. We love all the women.
Yes. Yeah. And what about you, Dr. Patricia? Any closing remarks?
Yes, I would like to thank you as well, CTV, for always giving me an opportunity, giving other women a platform, because not many media houses have accorded us this opportunity to be speaking for other women, especially media women. I would just like to encourage them, stay focused. I know she's close to politics, but she's a force to reckon with. So we should look up to those women, seek them out, build capacity, build partnership, so that we break these biases and also be part of the table to make decisions.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And there you had it from Honorable Joyce Bagala, Dr. Patricia Litho, and Dr. Miria Matembe. The ladies have weighed in and given in input and are reminding us to not drop the baton. They started this journey, they paved the way for us, and we must take it and run with it. This year's International Women's Day theme is Break the Bias, and we are looking for, women are looking for a gender equal world free of bias, stereotypes, and discrimination. We are looking for diversity. We want our differences to be celebrated. So stop being against each other and be together. Women should support other women. Another woman supporting another woman is building the nation. Let's not forget why we started and why we are here in the first place. Well, that is all I had for you on this segment of the Twitter Jabs. Stay tuned because we have more coming up. This is Sunrise at Sea.